Don't you get on your
Okay.
Not that anything's wrong with that. It kind of turns me on personally.
Hey, what's up you guys? It's Travis and this is...
Hey guys, it's Jeff.
As many of you know, I am a gay homosexual. And this man right here is a straight heterosexual. And apparently there are some questions that the straight man here has for us gay people that straights are often too afraid to ask. Jeff's gonna take over and you're gonna ask me some questions.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be absolutely painfully honest about whatever it is that you ask.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's start with the age-old question. How do you decide who's the top and who's the bottom?
Rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors.
Really?
Honestly, there's never been a situation where we haven't figured it out. As you get older, you just get less and less married to a certain position. Tell me out there if you feel differently, but for me, I thought I was one position for a long time and then I switched to another position and now it's kind of like feeding off the vibe of whoever you're with. I feel like it's really feeling the energy of who's maybe more aggressive and who's more dominant in the situation, which then kind of creates the top or bottom dynamic.
People definitely have their preferences.
For
though,
sure,
right?
but it depends on situations. If I'm like just starting to date someone, prefer bottom. But if I'm in a relationship, verse top.
Verse top.
So it shifts depending on the dynamic. What do you think you would be if you were ever to engage in a sexual activity? I haven't already know, but go ahead and answer for the people.
I mean, I think naturally probably more of a top.
Of course.
But I don't know, you've kind of convinced me that I should be a little more open in life and consider what it would be like to be a bottom.
And we've talked about this recently because we have really pushed the boundaries and our limits together on with the content we filmed. We have not yet done a scene, and this has come up quite a bit, so I think we're really considering doing our first scene, and it would be kind of a flip situation.
You won't know if you like it if you don't try it, right?
Yeah, don't try it, or don't hate it until you made it. Next question.
Does size matter to gay men? Because like in the straight world, it probably matters, but they say it's more about the motion in the ocean.
Gay men, I think size does matter for a lot of gay men. For me personally, to some extent, right? Like, if it's way too small or even way too big, I don't have the level of commitment. Like, I have a job, I have kids, I got a car payment, like, you can't do this to me. So just an average is good. Average is good. I'm not super particular about this. If you get like a little bit larger, okay, well, I wouldn't kick it out of bed.
Does bottoming hurt? It seems like it would. That's kind of my hesitation to ever consider being a bottom.
It's a different kind of pleasure. Yes, it can be painful. If you take your time with it, it can be really pleasurable. It doesn't feel the same as topping or masturbating. It feels like bottoming, which is more of a mental gratification. So part of the mental gratification is like more that someone is like in you. And so you're as connected to them as possible. And then them using your body and making it theirs. There's something about that submissive element, giving into something that you want so badly, and then someone just taking it. That is what makes bottoming great. And that's what you have to do going into it. So if you go into bottoming thinking it's going to feel like a stroke of the penis, it's not that. So you're gonna be disappointed and you're gonna think you're not a bottom. But if you open up your mind to receiving pleasure in a different kind of way, it'll blow your mind.
I think you just convinced me. Don't you get on your
Okay.
Not that anything's wrong with that. It kind of turns me on personally, but I think some people might have some reservations with that.
Oh yeah, I think that was the scariest thing for me when I first came out. I want to say some like nice dressed up answer, but the truth is, if you're gonna play by the pool, you're gonna get wet. I know that some people like will really dedicate their whole day to prepping, but sometimes like the best sex is spontaneous and you didn't have time to prep that way. When it happens, some people will just keep going, which if the sex is that intense and that good, sometimes you'll stop because it's like, oh my god, hold on, I'll be right back, and then the plunging sound. I don't know why you ate Chipotle tonight. I don't know why you did it, but no one makes it weird. The cool people don't make it weird. It happens, deal with it and move on.
Are gay guys as promiscuous as perceived?
I would say it varies, of course. But generally speaking, in gay culture, don't come for me. Yes, absolutely. Most gay men that I know have had hundreds of partners. I think that maybe it's because we were never like bound by normal societal standards and expectations. So we kind of broke free and had this rebellious side of ourselves that made us just want to have sex more often. Or gay men. I don't feel like I identify with this so much, but I do feel that way about the culture. I think that I've learned to have a more healthy relationship with sex over the years, but I was more on the opposite side. I was very conservative about it, so I didn't sleep with a lot of people. I think that a lot of gays have that promiscuity, maybe partly because they just enjoy it and they like celebrating it, but I think that a lot of them also haven't done the work on themselves from whatever they're running from or they're trying to avoid feeling, because so many are so afraid of intimacy. I'm all for it. Have as much sex as you want, as long as you're not hurting yourself or somebody else. And sometimes I feel like they use it as a coping mechanism. Again, don't come for me. This is my feelings on the subject, and I know that there's lots of people that don't fit in this box, but it's just something I've noticed. Some of the most sexually active people are actually very unhappy, and they're trying to find that happiness or connection through another person rather than finding it through intimacy, which I think like you and I have a lot of intimacy and a lot of closeness that I've learned in my experience can be a lot more gratifying than having sex with somebody else. So a hookup with a gay guy wouldn't be half as gratifying as like you and I cuddling and watching TV. And it's not sexual. You know, we'll massage each other, cameras won't even be on, and we have a very, very close, intimate relationship where I've learned, oh, this is what I was looking for. But I think a lot of gay men just don't see that. They don't find that in their lives. So they keep having sex incessantly, wondering why they're so unhappy.
Why are gay men generally more feminine? Or is that even?
I hear a lot of straight people asking this question. I know it's not like laced in any sort of homophobia with you, but a lot of them are like, why do they have to talk like this? I'm okay with gays as long as they don't act like this. Then you're not okay with gays, because that's a lot of them. Why that happens, I don't know. I was very feminine when I was a kid, and I got bullied for it so much. I didn't even know what femininity was. I don't know if they knew what it was, but it was different. I acted more like a girl than a guy, and I was bullied for it so much that when I was kicked out of my home and I moved to another state, I consciously started acting more masculine to avoid being bullied again, and then everyone liked me more. It's sad because that was who I authentically was, but now it's weird because I kind of have this in between. I can present that masculinity as well, which I like in its own way, and then I'm also very comfortable with femininity. And I can be both, and I love that I can wear both whenever I want and however I want. So that's where I have some sort of appreciation for the non-binary concepts. But going back to your question, why gays act that way? Maybe it's because like your idols growing up are maybe more female, more feminine anyway. So you look up, like I think of how much the gays love diva pop stars, classic gay inspiration actresses, and I don't know, I literally do not know, but this is my only guess because they have these feminine mannerisms that the gays gravitate towards. And so then of course, as you're growing up with that and that idea of like what you aspire or what you would admire, I guess in some respects, you start behaving like that.
It seems to me the longer I hang out with a gay man, he tends to become more feminine. And I don't know if that's seeing the bond between us that would work easier or something like that.
Yeah, there's always that thing that still happens. I will always say, hey, see you later, man. And I would never say that to my assistant, for example. I'm like, girl, get your ass out of here, bitch. I'm not paying your ass. And it's just our culture, how we speak to one another, and there's like a presentation. Granted though, a lot of people present that way because they want to present that masculine image, so it's part of what carried with us from when we were ashamed of our sexuality. But at the same time, that is me, you know? So I'm like, oh, see you later, man. It's like, that's how I speak to this person. We speak to people differently. Like I talk to my grandma differently than I talk to the DMV person versus my roommate versus you. Like we all put on the masks differently depending on who we're speaking to, but I think it's not necessarily fake. It's just a different version of my authentic self.
I've had a few experiences, Mario and I've had a few experiences working with different people, and we seem to think that it's easier for gays to clash. Like gays seem to want to work with me and Mario a little more than they do with other gays, especially with maybe it was just our experience. Do you see anything like that? Have you had any experiences like that?
Yeah.
What?
Nothing.
So is there something to it?
Yeah, yes. It's been much easier working with you and Mario than any gay man that I've brought on the channel. Gays can be such bitches. They can be so mean to each other, but that speaks to our culture. It's weird because the culture is so much about love and acceptance and be who you are, but when you're actually in the culture, it's the opposite. Discrimination is probably higher than any other group. Being overweight, being a minority, it's like you're not fitting within this circle of what you're required to be accepted as a gay person. I see a lot in the culture, even from doing YouTube, the gays will be obsessed with you, but they also want to see you like fall down. Again, my own perspective on the culture itself. But it's not a very healthy culture. It's kind of a little bit toxic. So when we're working together, I think some of those pieces come through, and there's a weird element of lusting after someone, but then also hating them because it's a projection of yourself, not even dealing with your own personal issues. I'm just like saying it all for this video. Like, I'm saying it all, but that's how I feel. Don't come for me.
Don't come for me.
Don't come for me. But I have nothing but love. It's just like, I don't have any bitterness either. It feels like that's the way it is in our culture.
And I researched some of these questions too. These weren't all off the top of my head. I wanted to research to have some good questions for you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you so much for all of your questions. I really appreciate that. This was an open, safe space to ask whatever questions you wanted. And you talked to me about this beforehand, making sure that I was respectful. And I said, it's an open space to ask questions that may not normally be acceptable, but it's questions that straight guys are often too afraid to ask. It's just been my experience. So if you feel differently about some of the questions that I answered, let me know down below. Let me see what you guys have to say. It's a dialogue. This is an open, safe space. And at the end of the day, just an opportunity to bring us closer. So I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love you. Wow, I just dropped the L-bomb. Wow, wow. Oh, right, she's a little tipsy. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.